Mr. Adam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. What about you?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking. So what's going on in the fight world these days?
A lot.
Yeah?
I think a lot. One fight that I'm very excited about is actually the Jones and Miocic fight.
Wow.
That's gonna be a great one. I'm like, it's not like very close from now, but I'm like super excited about that. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
When is that scheduled? You
I
remember?
think for November. I think it's
November.
scheduled for
Wow.
November. Yeah.
Well, I don't know too much about Miocic, but Jon Jones, that guy is an amazing athlete.
hmm
So, and the rumors are, and he's saying like after this fight he's gonna retire.
I've heard about that. I've heard about that too, and it's very very interesting because he's still quite young. He's like 36, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So he's still quite young to retire, and like his last fight against Cyril Gane, he looked amazing. So
Yeah, he was
I would
just
be very disappointed if he actually decides to retire after this fight.
Yeah, that's always interesting with you because you're always like kind of surprised when they want to leave on top, like Khabib with 29-0, and you're like, he could go for 10 more fights and still
Yeah.
be strong.
Yeah, that's a different story though, because he like kind of promised his mom, because like his father died, and that's why he decided to retire. But Jones don't have the same issue basically. So though he has nothing to prove, also if you think about it, I mean he's like the fucking king of the fight world, right? Like he's light heavyweight king, now he's heavyweight king. So he kind of proved that he's the king. So like why risk his health anymore?
Yeah, not necessarily his health because every time he's been fighting, he's like there's few fights where he just absorbed a lot of damage, right?
Like the
So-
Gustafsson fight, or
Jesus,
that's-
Jesus,
that was
That was,
insane. That was fucking insane.
like those moments in history, like we're just privileged to observe them.
Mhm.
To see two people that are so crafted in their profession, right? Going toe to toe for so many rounds and, just taking everything they have against each other. That level, I don't think you will ever see that in any other profession at that level. So it's just a privilege to observe that.
I agree. It's always an extra pressure, an extra element when it comes to the fight game, right? So it's not like playing a football game, playing a basketball game. It's a different stuff because you kind of put your life on the line, right?
Yeah. It's fun. Joe Rogan, he made the description of like, if you lose a basketball game, right? You can say to the guy after, well, let's take this outside and settle it outside, right?
Yeah.
But you have never lost a fight and like, hey, let's take
I
this
can beat you in basketball.
let's take this outside and play some basketball, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like the problem solving with that high pressure and that kind of this kind of, imagine Usain Bolt,
Mhm.
fastest man running 100-meter. Imagine him running that while somebody else is trying to leg kick him. Because that's basically what they're doing. They're
Mhm.
doing high performance with a lot of different elements in it. With another person trying to sabotage it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the level of problem solving is extremely high. And it's the same head that you're using in the conference room, that you're using in the workspace, that you use in the octagon. It's the same head, right? Your approach to problem solving is the same. But with that kind of pressure and physical domination that's threatening you, it's incredible how they do it.
It's truly incredible. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
And Jon Jones, 36 years old, 193 centimeters. Basically, in my opinion, he's the GOAT, greatest of all times.
I know where you're coming from. Yeah, I could agree with that. My only thought about that is that he got caught using steroids before, so that's the only issue. Whereas let's say Khabib, he never got caught using steroids, so like it's kind of a difficult discussion to decide, like if it's Khabib or Jones, because I think it would come down to these two. Like I can agree with that, but I'm not sure if you can say that Jones is higher on the GOAT list than Khabib.
I'm surprised that you even like putting them up against each other because Khabib, it's nice, right? He's a fantastic athlete. He's a perfect ambassador for sports, but he can't be compared to Jon Jones.
Why do you say that?
Let's put Jon Jones and Khabib in a room.
Okay. So you talk about like the weight difference. Then who would win like the actual fight between them?
No, I'm saying who's the ultimate fighter on the planet Earth?
Good question.
And you want
I think it's
Demetrius Johnson, fantastic athlete, fantastic fighting career, but he's featherweight. Technical ability, like it's beyond normal comprehension, right? But at the end of the day, it's only interesting when the big guys clash together, right? Because that's the ultimate. If you have the heavyweight guy, light heavyweight champion, heavyweight champion, and with those technical ability, the calves, the legs of Jon Jones are like small wooden sticks, right?
That's very interesting that you mentioned like Demetrius Johnson, because like I think if that guy, he would be heavyweight, if he was heavyweight, I think he would beat Jon Jones, because like technically he's a little bit more sound even than Jon Jones, Like
can you repeat that? I didn't understand.
I'm saying if Demetrius Johnson was a heavyweight, right? If he would be like, let's say, 40 centimeters taller and, like a fucking normal heavyweight, like Jon Jones, like the same size. So I think he got more skills, a little bit more skills than Jon Jones, probably a little bit better jiu-jitsu, the wrestling is like, probably the same. And maybe his stand-up, I think his stand-up is better than Jon Jones. So, but he's a flyweight. So,
Are you living in the metaverse?
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's what I'm asking you. If you're living in this hypothetical world, what if you had $1 million? What if you had a bad bitch? What if you had all these things? Then the outcome would be this. It's a fantastic illusion to kind of live in. But when it comes down to it, heavyweight champion in the ultimate fighting champion, the highest league of mixed martial arts, where everything is allowed, and you're the biggest, strongest, fastest, toughest guy. And in my opinion, he is 29-0. He has one no contest and he has one loss. Not because he's been beaten. One is because of disqualification.
Yeah, exactly.
And the non-contest, okay, he has not been physically intimidated or been dominated by anyone.
Yeah, I mean, he's
in light heavyweight, in heavyweight, he's 29-0.
He's a phenomenal athlete.
And this 29-0, and with this fight against Miocic, he can become 30-0.
Yeah. How do you think it will play out, though? This fight.
I don't know too much about Miocic. What do you think about Miocic?
I think he's a great athlete as well. He's been, he defended the heavyweight belt, I think like 3 or 4 times. So he's a crazy good athlete. He has good wrestling, good boxing. But I think he's not at the level of Jon Jones. I think Jon Jones is just a little bit better everywhere, except for the stand-up. Maybe like Miocic is a little bit better boxer, but that's not gonna really count, is it? Because Jon Jones, I think he can take him down, pretty much whenever he wants. Because the wrestling, I think there's a difference there between them.
What do you think about the matchmaking? Do you think Miocic should win the fight that Jon Jones is gonna retire on?
I hope not. I hope that Jones is not gonna retire after this. Because I would love to see him fight. Pavlovich. That Tom Aspinall guy, that British guy. I would love to fight him. Him fighting all these guys.
Yeah.
So I hope he won't retire. But at the same time, if he decides to, I would understand. Because really, as you mentioned as well, he really has nothing to prove.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe it's been match made for Jon Jones to meet Miocic because he's a tough fighter. There's no doubt about it. But he's not at the level of Jon Jones.
Yeah, he's not. And also, it's if Jon Jones would fight like Pavlovich now, for example, he would have way higher chance to lose. Because Pavlovich is like 10 years younger than Miocic. He's like a fucking truck. He's like the white fucking Ngannou, right?
Yeah. That's a good description, right?
So I think if he catches Jon Jones one time, good, that's lights out.
Yeah.
I think Jones would still win that fight though, but it would be way more risky than the Miocic fight. These are my thoughts.
Yeah, and it makes me think a little bit because based on the matchup, based on where Jon Jones is in his career, I think everything is kind of aligned for him to retire on this fight. Because if he was on a legacy streak for just like taking guys out again, I don't think Miocic would be the guy to put on the list. We would go with tougher guys, like you said, right?
Oh, it's kind of interesting because I think Miocic, if he took out Miocic, let's say 3 or 4 years ago when he was really on top, 36 years old, fucking heavyweight champ, then he was the heavyweight GOAT at that point, I believe.
Yeah.
Now he's a little bit over the prime, he's a little bit old. So yeah, I think it's still an achievement to take him out, but it would be certainly more impressive if he takes out Pavlovich, for example.
Yeah, it would definitely be that. But at this level, there's no easy fights. There's no easy opponent. So when it comes down to it, I think Miocic is gonna shake up the world if he takes out Jon Jones.
You think that's realistic though? I mean, can you imagine that scenario play out?
Of course, I live in the metaverse too, man. But the point is, I think
you got 10 bad bitches and like $20 million too, right?
Hey, my house is next to Snoop Dogg in the metaverse. No, but I think that with Miocic at that level, if you go into a fight underestimating any opponent, then you're retarded.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. You cannot underestimate. Like,
and
even if you fight like a drunk guy in the street, you cannot still underestimate him, right?
It's easier to underestimate that. It's always a bad quality to underestimate any opponent in any arena, financially, socially, anything, right?
Yeah.
But at this level, in this sport, the consequence is so dramatic that it will literally end your life.
I mean, yeah, it would certainly ruin, Jon Jones's legacy if he loses to Miocic, because at this point, he's expected to win.
Yeah,
like everybody expects, Jon Jones to win that fight.
So I think going into this fight and not acknowledging that Miocic can get that lucky shot, that he can make Jon Jones do a mistake. I don't think the odds are high for that. Based on Jon Jones' persona, based on Jon Jones' abilities, because he has a unique ability to take his strength. If he's meeting a better stand-up fighter, then he takes this ability to take it down to the ground. If he meets an opponent who's better on the ground, he takes on the feet.
Yeah,
he takes the fight on the arenas or in these areas where he is the best.
Yeah, I agree. That's what he always did. But what was most impressive to me with Jon Jones is that when he out-wrestled Daniel Cormier, right?
Wow.
He was the fucking Olympic wrestler, How the fuck do you do that? And Jon Jones made it possible. Like, that's where I went like, yeah, my God, man, this guy is the real deal,
and
right?
Cormier, is a fantastic gentleman, fantastic athlete, double division champ as well, right? Like, you can't talk about MMA and UFC without mentioning Cormier.
I agree.
When it comes down to it with these two guys, and Cormier is an intelligent gentleman too. He's super smart. The way that he set up his fights when he's fighting, intelligent fighting, man.
I think as a person, he's more intelligent than Jones, but his fight IQ is probably not that high as Jones's fight IQ. Because like Jones's fight IQ is just fucking insane if you think about it. Like, as you said, he always keeps the fight where it's most beneficial for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing, because that brings me into like a lot of the controversy around Jon Jones, right? Because if you look at his personal private life, there's been a hit and run.
Yeah.
He actually drove his car into another.
I think it was a pregnant lady or something,
and he ran from the scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think he also beat up his wife.
Yeah, there was some domestic abuse he was arrested for, right? But the comedian Bill Burr, he was actually here in Budapest. We saw a show with him, a stand-up comedian. Yeah, I think he's from Brooklyn originally. This ginger guy, 45 plus, kind of mad at life energy, right? And he said, like, girls, I understand that there's assholes out there. I understand that guy comes home from work, looks at the kitchen table, is like, tuna casserole, and just fucking start swinging. There's some bad apples out there, right?
Yeah.
If I acknowledge that, girls, can you acknowledge that every ass whooping doesn't fall out of the sky? like there's something that has happened before before a man just goes nuts, and when he talks about it, the whole crowd goes silent. Like they
No,
accept,
I
they
agree. I
accept.
agree for
So
sure.
Jon Jones, imagine Jon Jones. You're the you're the person in the world in a sport that's the ultimate measurement of dominance, right?
Hmm.
You expect him to have the mentality of an accountant?
Yeah, of course not. And like as you said, we don't know like what happened between him and his wife before. So you're obviously I'm not gonna sit
What is
here.
his wife? Was he married?
I maybe his fiance or something. I have no idea actually, but whatever. I call it his wife. Because it doesn't fucking matter anyway, right? But
True.
but yeah, like we obviously don't know. So I'm not gonna like fucking sit here and judge Jon Jones, because of what he did and stuff. Like obviously that hit and run thing, it was not nice, right? But that's not my fucking thing to like judge him or anything. Um, like I'm more like here to talk about his fighting career and his things related to fighting. So yeah, and in that respect, the guy is amazing. So
Yeah, my opinion, greatest of all time. You can challenge me on any fighter, put him next to him, and I will demolish that.
yeah, like it's I'm still saying it's an interesting conversation. Maybe one day we can have a whole episode on this. Like
Yeah.
discussing like whether it's him or Habib.
So yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of wrap it up a little bit. I think if Jon Jones, these people have existed since the start of time. I think that if Jon Jones lived like 400 years ago, he would sit on a horseback and chopping people's head off.
Yeah, I can imagine
Like
that with
he
Jon
would be a
Jones,
conqueror,
definitely. Yeah,
like Genghis Khan.
yeah.
These kind of personalities have always existed.
Mm.
Jon Jones have a civilized way of kind of expressing his abilities and his persona in a modern world,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's Jon Jones encapsulated like primitive, super high fighting IQ. Um, in the biggest best category in the world.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true, man.
Okay. So what do you think? Jon Jones take him out in second or third round?
I think yeah, second or third round. It sounds realistic, and I'm gonna go with Jon Jones probably by submission. Actually, like probably Jones is gonna take him down and yeah, either TKO him on the ground or just submit him. But I think it's gonna be by submission, which is gonna be fucking impressive because nobody ever subbed Miocic before.
Never.
Never. He never
Wow.
lost by. I think he lost by decision and knockout, but
Yeah.
never by submission. So I think if Jones gets it
Wow.
done, that's gonna be fucking amazing.
Personally, I want to see a knockout. I want to see him putting that nail in the coffin and securing his legacy, chiseled in stone, and saying, "There's without a doubt, there's no submission, there's no tap out, there's no technical knockout, no interference by the referee." It's like he's securing his legacy as the ultimate prime human fighter of all history by knocking him the fuck out.
I think he cannot top like Francis Ngannou on that one though, because like when Ngannou knocked out Miocic, it was fucking insane. So
Wow.
So I think yeah, probably like great submission, like an arm triangle choke or like a good, I don't know, like a good triangle or something, would be probably more impressive to me personally. But I understand where you're coming from. Like a good knockout, of course, that's always impressive, especially if it's like like Edwards versus Usman style of knockout.
Wow.
That would be
Headshot.
crazy too. Yeah.
No, I want to see that knockout. I want to see him securing his legacy and just sending Miocic like swimming with the stars. It was like not knowing where he is, and just to show that when he is set up in heavyweight, when he's confronted with tough fighters in another division, he just puts them to sleep.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter. I could fight another division, another championship, another legacy, another organization. But when it comes down to it, I would stack him up and hit him down. That's what I wanted him to make a statement with his last fight.
God, that would be very interesting. Yeah.
Right. So that's due in November. So it's gonna be fun to kind of see what's going to go on there. I think that
Yeah, we got some interesting fights even until then.
yeah. Any other fights that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, like Sterling and O'Malley is gonna be like this coming weekend, so that's gonna be a great one. Um,
Let's go with Sterling and O'Malley. What do you think? What do you think about these fighters?
well, I think they're very skilled. Like obviously, Sterling is more skilled in wrestling and jiu-jitsu. He's not very skilled when it comes to boxing and his Muay Thai.
Yeah.
O'Malley, obviously, on the other hand, like he's way more skilled with the stand-up game, and he's not like very skilled on the ground. It's gonna be a good fight to watch, but I'm almost 100% sure it's gonna play out in a way that Sterling just takes him down, wins either by a dominant decision or just submits O'Malley, because I think he's not gonna be able to keep it on the feet. And the reason why I say this, because when he fought, Peter Yan, that Russian guy who's like not even a wrestler, he's more like a boxer guy, and he was able to take him down like many times. So,
the hype around O'Malley, he was kind of portrayed as the new Conor McGregor. In the beginning, he was like the favorite of the UFC organization. They were billing, giving him fights. Even the win against Dion was like a little bit controversial because they want to build kind of his persona and his career, right?
I think it was a fucking robbery, though. I think Jan won that fight.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people says that after watching the fight. Jan didn't knock him out. He didn't submit him. He didn't dominate him. And then at the end of the day, if you're not doing that, don't leave it up to the referee, right? Take care of your own business.
No, sure. So you think O'Malley winning the fight was the right decision from the judges?
No.
Okay, so we're on the same page on this one, buddy.
yeah. But I also said that think that O'Malley has kind of an X factor to him. His mentality, his persona, his hair, his style. I even like saying his name, O'Malley.
Yeah.
I think the guy's kind of a little bit cool, right? And he has a different kind of mentality and approach to the fighting game. He's kind of doing what we think is cool with Conor McGregor. He's doing what kind of cool with Jon Jones. Like they are artists, martial artists in the octagon. When they're performing, you can see the guys are not. They don't necessarily have a game plan, but they're playing with elements, almost playing with gravity. They're just finding out solutions that we have never seen being done before. And it's not because of their physical appearances look so incredible. They're just so smart in the way of approaching it. Conor said once, like, he doesn't have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's not a boxer. He's not a karate fighter. Like, he just looks at movements. Sometimes he looks at animals and just copies their movement and kind of utilize that in a fight, right?
Yeah.
And I had that same feeling with O'Malley. Unfortunately, I think that's been hyped up a little bit, and I'm afraid that he believes it too much too himself.
Yeah, he's certainly got a lot of hype around him, So it's gonna be interesting. But if he gets it done, then it's gonna be amazing, because then it's gonna be a rematch with Jan, I think, at one point for sure. And it's gonna be like a lot of challenges for him, but I just don't see him getting this done against Sterling, because I think Sterling's wrestling is just too good, and I think it's gonna be game over for O'Malley at this point.
Mike Tyson, the boxer, he said that he knows if he's won or lost a fight even before it starts. Have you heard him say that?
I've heard this. Yeah.
What do you put into that?
I think it's it comes down to like let's say when you're on the face-off with your opponent, right? And you kind of feel your opponent's energy, you kind of feel like the whole vibe of the situation. So like you kind of get to know your opponent. Is he scared of you? Is he not scared? Like, what's going on? Like you get the whole vibe. So I think Tyson meant something like this. What do you think? Yeah,
it's a good reflection that you have. Thank you for asking. I'm thinking that when he said he's looking at his opponent in the ring, he's just looking for that millimeter,
Mhm.
that split second where he looks away, where
Mhm.
he doesn't kind of confronts him with his eyes, with his attitude, with his demeanor, with his behavior,
I see.
And then for a split second, if he looks away or if there's some hesitation there, I know I got him.
Yeah.
I know I got him.
Yeah.
These are athletes that are performing at the top of their level in the most each organizations that they are, right? So every millimeter counts. So when it comes down to these guys, the energy around O'Malley, even when I look at his photos, his interviews, his appearances these days, feels like his energy is not in the right place. He's kind of looking away sometimes. I get some feeling that he like that fight is already lost before it began.
Mhm.
And what's interesting that once I've predicted that earlier, it happened. Remember when we talked about that last time?
When O'Malley lost last
No,
time?
no, different fighters.
Oh, with Adesanya, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy. Like the first Adesanya fight you talk about, right? Yeah. Yeah. Like I was a bit surprised about that because like I thought that Adesanya is gonna win that one, right? Because he had way more experience in MMA. Um, just overall, like probably more skills as an MMA fighter than Pereira.
All the stats. He had all the stats.
Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah.
He had like the winning streak. He was more experienced in that.
Yeah. But he didn't like also he didn't look scared. Do you think he was scared? I don't think he was scared.
Doesn't matter.
So why do you think he lost that fight, like the first one?
It's because the approach that Alex Pereira had.
Mhm.
This guy's been an alcoholic. He's been religious. He's been going through like heavy lifestyle changes, right? And when you see him come with that peacock costume for the weigh-in,
Oh yeah, that was pretty amazing. Yeah.
indigenous Brazilian rainforest uniform.
Mhm.
I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's going to war.
Mhm.
Like I've been fighting amateur level with karate, and when it comes down to this kind of professional level at this, and when you come to a weigh-in or a pre-press conference with his feathers and the face paint, it's not an image.
Yeah.
He's prepared. He's probably had a holy man just giving me his last blessings, ready to do this fight.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, that guy, he was ready to leave his life in there.
Mm.
And he's been following Adesanya from the start. Like, I truly believe that the way that he approached it, he doesn't give a shit about shit talk. Like, he doesn't even express himself.
He's not a big shit talker for sure.
He's not a big talker at all.
He's fucking stone face, right?
He's like a caveman, right?
Yeah.
You start to wonder if he has a language or even a voice, right? Because he's so stone cold with that stuff, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's always scary, that kind of thing. So when he came to the press conference with that mentality, didn't even back down, didn't flinch, looked him in the eyes. It was like there was no emotion in it.
Mhm.
He was so professional. He's there to do a job. I've done the necessary requirements to approach this fight in a way that I will leave my life in here, and my family can be proud if this is the end of my story. Meeting a person like that in the octagon, wow, it becomes very lonely very fast when they shut that steel door. The only way out of that octagon is being knocked out cold or choked out unconsciously.
Mhm.
And he was prepared for that. And the same thing, I see the hesitation. And Adesanya, he wasn't afraid for the fight. He was ready.
No.
He was prepared. But what comes down to it, that's what we want to see.
Yeah, of course.
You don't want to see a overweight, past his prime guy play ping pong against a YouTuber. No, you want to see people at their prime fighting, challenging, people at the same level,
Yeah.
and then we want to see who's best.
I think at this level, there are not a lot of fighters who would be scared or anything. I think even when Ben Askren, got knocked the fuck out against Jake Paul,
We
right?
gotta stop this episode right away if we're talking about that. I think about that guy.
No, but I gotta touch this topic. Like, I think he wasn't scared. He just didn't give a fuck, right? He went there, okay, I'm getting my fucking paycheck, and I'm getting
but dude,
I'm getting knocked the fuck out, But he wasn't scared. He knew what's coming, right? I mean, like if I fought Ben Askren at that time, I would have knocked him out, bro.
Shut up, man. What do you call the guy in the Harry Potter movies?
I don't know which.
The bad guy. What's his name?
I have no idea, man. I never watched Harry Potter.
The guy with no nose and like just the holes in the.
What's his name? I don't know.
I don't remember. Hey, Jamie, can you look that up? No, but I think that guy. They talk about the man with no name.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we should talk about. The guy you're mentioning.
The man with no name.
Yeah.
Who you talking about?
The guy, I'm not gonna mention his name.
Okay, I get you.
Because that is a sack of potatoes, man. His mentality, his performance, his attitude, his persona. Dude, I would fight that guy.
Yeah, I would fight him as well. I honestly think
he's
that
a piece of shit.
Yeah, he totally doesn't take it seriously.
No, he doesn't. That's spot on.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, we're talking about intelligence. I don't want to talk down about people who are not too very intelligent, but when it comes down to it, his preparation, his attitude, his approach, it's shitty. It makes me feel shit when I'm watching him talk, fight, getting knocked out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that what he did against Jake Paul, that kind of preparation, like the whole mentality and stuff, he was kind of disrespectful to.
Right. Can we make an agreement?
Yeah.
Let's shake hands on this. Never to bring up the person with no name again. All right?
All right.
Fuck that guy.
I'll keep that in mind, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I got to shake that off, man. That's the initial reason why we started this podcast. We started talking about that situation.
Uh-huh.
And we started like kind of venting out.
Yeah, I remember like you were fucking upset after that. Like you sent me a video like talking, like you sent me, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude?
They were
it's like that guy killed your cat or something,
I don't even fucking like cats. But I think, I think that's where we kind of discovered like the kind of way of understanding the fights, build-ups, and the approach and what we can learn from these athletes, because we can talk about their fighting abilities and the sports career and everything, but they also become kind of role models. That's where I was touching the controversy around Jon Jones, because it gives us kind of some indications of what kind of direction we want to have in our life.
Yeah,
and these because
I think
becomes
like,
so big,
Yeah, I think Conor is like honestly a way worse role model than Jon Jones, because Jon Jones at least tries to be a good guy, right? But Conor is like just openly being a fucking prick, like no disrespect, but I obviously respect him, a lot. He's one of the best fighters in the world. Like he made the UFC what it is today. But as a role model, I wouldn't want my kid, to look up to Conor as a role model. I would rather want my kid to look up to Khabib instead, or fucking even like Stipe Miocic, right? Or Cormier or some of these guys.
Yeah. For me, it's hard to talk about Conor, especially these days, because I'm worried about his upcoming fight that's been scheduled for December with Chandler.
Oh, it's already been scheduled. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're like, well, you never know with Conor,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And in my opinion, Conor's retired.
Mm.
After that leg kick.
He also like, it just comes to my mind. I think he also doesn't take it seriously anymore,
That's why it's hard for me to talk about Conor these days, because if you look back at the days when Conor had this iconic fight, look at the screen here, when he was fighting Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
Jose Aldo has been undefeated for like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
He was like, he was already a legend, right? Then Conor, just with his attitude and his behavior and his persona, and with this big following group that he has, like, we're not here to take part, we're here to take fucking over. This mentality, and the Irish fans just backing that up. I think what he represented at that time was like, you can life hack, you can understand the elements of your your profession, and you can overcome anything, and you can do anything, right? That was he
Yeah.
represented. And when he knocked out Jose Aldo in 13, 14 seconds of this kind of a fight, we were like, wow, becoming the first double champion division for the first time in UFC history.
Yeah, that's where he really got famous, right? I think
That's
but
where
that
he
was like
just
the fight
that's
where
where he just signed his legacy already there. Whatever happened, it was a bonus, but he just signed his legacy right there.
yeah,
And looking at where he was at that time, his approach, his way he talked to media, the way he treated his health, his wife, everything. It's such a big difference where he is these days.
I think he was a different person back then. It kind of feels like that he was a different person.
Definitely,
He was like
definitely.
way more motivated than right now. I think now he's like on his fucking yacht, having $100 million, right?
He's
Sipping
more
his
than that.
fucking whiskey,
More than that. That's
yeah,
the
it doesn't
peanuts
matter.
money.
But I mean, yeah, maybe 200, 300. I have no
More,
idea.
I think his worth is
Yeah, but at that time, what did he have? Like not even $1 million, I think.
50
he was.
G, 50 G, Dana. Remember, he got
so of course he was
50,000
fucking motivated.
forints.
Like
50,000 forints he got in a bonus for the fight of the night. 50,000 forints. Now he's doing Floyd Mayweather fights for 100 million a fight.
yeah,
And then he has all
crazy.
the fucking businesses side of things. He can do whatever he wants. But now, why it's hard for me to talk about Conor and his upcoming fight with Chandler is like, okay, number one, whoever he choose to fight, that's saving the opponent's life. He's making the
You mean because like the opponent is getting like so much of money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like regardless of who you are, if you fight Conor McGregor, that would be your biggest payday ever.
No, I agree.
So just for him to choose Chandler is almost like a privilege for Chandler. He should be thankful for that. Actually, Conor said that in the beginning when he was on the top of his game. He's like, well, you should be thankful for me.
He always likes to play this card, you know. He played
But
it
it's
with Nate
true.
Diaz as
It's
well.
funny because it's true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I agree.
So when it comes down to Conor and just look at his behavior now, the physical changes that he had, he looks bloated. He's like Ariel Hawani, one of the best MMA sports journalists that are, interviewed him in like the Black Forge, the restaurant that he has now, the chain of restaurants that Conor has, and he was not able to formulate a sentence. It was
Oh,
struggling with
really?
his
I
words.
didn't see this
Wow,
interview,
it
to
was
be
like-
honest.
So he was under the influence. And he says, "I'm not going to drink the
Wow.
beer now. I have a session later, but I love this beer. It's fantastic. But I'm not going to drink it. I'm not going to drink it."
Mhm.
And that's not Conor how we know him.
You think he's like an alcoholic though, or is it just like a kind of persona that he puts on, just to like kind of gain
think-
attention and
I think
stuff?
he struggles now.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
I could imagine that about Conor, but I'm like not sure.
Well, there's been several incidents where prostitutes and girls have claimed that he's been violent. Where there's a lady who claims that she's been pregnant with his child. Where he knocked that old guy down in the bar for not drinking his beer.
Oh, that was crazy.
So there's been a lot of these incidents where he's been arrested, and it's all been related to drug use or under influence of any drugs. And then you also look at the situation where he's doing appearances and he's not related to any sports at all. Like you see him in clubs, you see him in the yachts, you see him in these kind of things.
Yeah,
This arena
yeah.
where you're like, the great Muhammad Ali said once, like, what's the toughest thing about being a fighter? You know what he said?
What?
To be at home in bed by yourself at 9 o'clock.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's the toughest. Avoid the women, avoid the clubs, avoid the alcohol, and we see
that's always difficult if you think about it. No, like even if you're not a professional fighter, that's always kind of a challenge to stay disciplined and stuff. Like you go home, you sit down to work, instead of like going out, getting drunk, having a bunch of women around you, stuff like that. So it's kind of difficult to like stay on your purpose and stay like stay disciplined.
Yeah, it's easy to be distracted.
Obviously, like when you have a couple of meals, so it's even more hard. So
yeah, that's why it's difficult for me to talk about Conor, because what he represented earlier and what he's become today, it's I think that he struggles But he said it in the beginning. There was a fantastic quote that was being read by Connor, one of his fans on our press conference. Like, Connor, can I repeat a quote that you said once? And he said, sure. And it goes like, I will be, I'm gonna break, like, I'm gonna destroy this quote. But the idea was like, once I get a car every day of the week, different car for every day of the week, when my children's children have a house, when my mother's got this, when then I will be happy.
Mm.
When I've lost my mind to this game, like Van Gogh, then I will be happy. And then he's just, this is the fan or the reporter reading up to him what he said. He's like, yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. Been a hell of a ride,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't change anything about it. And then I think, like, once you have obtained the the position to be the ultimate person, like, there's nobody that brings as much money into the game as Conor McGregor, right?
that's right.
And when you have established that, and when you have established, like, the double division champion, when you are like the record holder of different kind of situations, right, in that sport at that level, what else is there?
Yeah, what else is there? And I think that's part of the reason why he lost motivation, actually. Because I think that happened when he fought Mayweather, right, for like 100 million. I think it was for 100 million. And before that, he was motivated. He was like knocking all these guys out in the UFC. When he fought Mayweather, he lost that fight by TKO, I believe. And after that, how many fights did he win? I think he won only one fight after that, which was like 6 years ago. I think he only won against
Donald Cerrone.
old Cowboy Cerrone, yeah, like, which is,
Don't call him old. I like Cowboy, man.
I like him too, but he
Yeah.
was old, like that's
Yeah, why do you bring that
that's
into
just the
it?
way it is.
Huh? Why do you bring that into it? Yeah, but the point is that when you look at Connor, when he said it's such a cliche, but then I will be happy when I've lost my mind to this game.
Mm.
Unfortunately, these things that he has been visualizing has materialized. The money, the houses, the cars, the legacy, everything. But I think also he has lost his mind to the game.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And I just wanna underline that with saying that when you have all the money, like, there's no more money that can motivate him, right? There's not an opponent that can make him go back and have the mentality he had, there's not a situation that can stimulate him to do anything else. And where does that leave you?
like unmotivated, you mean?
Not unmotivated. That's a simpler way of describing it. I think he's lost his purpose in life. I don't think he's in connection with his values as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a son, as an uncle, whatever the family relations that he have. I think he has lost his purpose, and he's just living in the surface of getting immediate positive stimulation with,
Oh,
like, posting
that's
stuff,
quite possible.
going,
Yeah.
doing drugs. Even after the fight where he broke his leg against Poirier, that recovery process. You see when people are talking about illegal substances being used in sports, right?
Hmm.
I've been a total like, when we're talking about drug use on a private basis or for sports enhancement purposes, I'm like, there is a zero tolerance in my mind, right?
Okay.
I don't like that, especially because I did do sports at a high level myself. So, like, all that is fucking cheating. I don't like it. But what I saw when people use that stuff, it was not necessarily to improve their performance at the day that they did the sports or the competition or the race, right? They did it in the training camps to be able to endure the hard pressure that the body had to take
Yeah, yeah.
to be in the best shape for
Yeah.
that.
It's
Right?
like, because it kind of makes your recovery quicker, and like makes
Exactly.
you tired like way later than you would normally
Let's say
get
we do
tired.
3 sessions today, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're gonna be broken tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if you do some, I don't know, the supplements that they would take, like growth hormone or insulin, or if it's like testosterone or whatever, like, whatever they do, right? It kind of boosts them. So tomorrow you're back at zero. You're ready.
Yeah.
And you
yeah.
can do that like for 5, 6, 7 days, for 2, 3, 4, for 12 weeks until the fight camp's over.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
in Conor, you see he's bulked up, he's bigger, he's probably gained 10 kilos, and you don't do that without any supplements.
Oh, but it's very interesting what you say, because it kind of brings me to like mentality as well. Like the guys from Dagestan and Chechnya. Like these guys like Chimaev, Habib, Islam Makhachev. Like they have like a special mentality, right? Because they don't care about partying. They're all married, having kids. They don't care about like sleeping with a bunch of women, like they don't care about cars, like nothing. They just all focused on fucking fighting. And I think that's part of the reason why they're so good. Apart from the other reason is I think because they start very early. They start like, street fighting at the age of fucking 4, right? So that's one thing. But the other thing is that while the American guy is partying, and sleeping with a bunch of women and, like buying a nice car and getting a fucking tattoo and stuff. Like Habib is fucking training and Islam Makhachev is fucking training, and it comes down to it that they're gonna beat you when it comes to the fight.
So if you give me the permission to translate what you just said, these athletes that you're mentioning now, they're in contact and they're representing their values regardless of their expression, right? Regardless if they're making money, regardless if they're a goat hoarder, regardless whatever they do,
Yeah.
they stay connected with the values that they
Yeah,
have.
absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
don't get distracted and they stay focused because their value as a human being, if I'm a fighter, that doesn't define me.
hmm
I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do my chores. I'm going to do whatever. If my period of my life where I'm going to do sports is based on the MMA, well, that's what I'm doing then. When I'm retired, you think they're going to lay on the sofa, just watch TV and reality shows?
No.
They're going to stay committed to their values, and that's what I'm afraid that Conor's lost.
Yeah, yeah. I think for these
That breaks them,
Dagestani
man.
guys,
That
like,
breaks them, man.
I mean, like religion also helps a lot for them, right? Because they have to stay true, to certain values because of their religion. They cannot just go out and do cocaine and smoke weed because that's not allowed
Haram.
for them.
That's haram.
So yeah,
Yeah, and it's true. I think if you look at like Andrew Tate, he's been talking. He's converted to Islam,
yeah.
and he says like you should fear God.
hmm
But in all the Christian societies, I don't see people fearing God. I see
No.
I see women being promiscuous. I see guys being violent. I see guys drinking, eating pigs, eating like they don't have any values. They don't fear God.
I think it's
So
it's
when
good. Yeah.
just let
Sorry.
me
Sorry.
finish
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
And when he says when it comes to these Muslim countries, you see that people are fearing God. They're God fearing people.
Yeah.
And I think that's an element with religious people that keeps them in check, keeps them in order, respect values, to react. Like even if you look at the biomechanical or the physiologically approach of it, is when you go to as a Muslim, you are fasting. There's Ramadan. You do this like there's so many biological positive effects from doing a fast.
Yeah, for sure. Sure, it's a healthy thing to do.
So the whole mentality of the religion of Islam helps people do that. If you're not an extremist, if like doesn't matter if like you're Islamist extremist or if you're Christian extremist or if you're a bodybuilding extremist, as long as you're not an extremist, these set of values will keep you in check as a human being with the body and the tools that you have as a human being.
No, I agree for sure. Like what I wanted to say there is that I think the only point where I would like correct you a little bit is that when you see sort of Christian countries, like people like being violent and like women are being like just fucking around and stuff like that. I think they are not Christians. I think they have no religion. Like they are either like atheist or like just lost connection to the whole thing. So I think it's like if you're a true Christian, like you will not do these things, right? Because you will go to church, you will have like some values to live by. So maybe it's not gonna be like as strict as Islam, right? But still, like you're not gonna be like a you're not gonna be like a fucking whore, or you're not gonna be like a violent drug addict if you're a true Christian. This is what I think.
I understand, but I think if we do like a clinical approach to it and look at the different kind of religion, I think this Islamic religion is more stricter and it's more controlled by the communities in order for the individuals to not fall out of that kind of discipline, right? Whereas if the Christian environments doesn't have that kind of a culture, doesn't have that kind of structure around it. So I think when it comes to religion, if I had to choose one that's gonna be more strict and set up, probably my finger would be on the Islamic religion. But then again, I'm not religious. I don't want to like use these things, but I think it's important for people to have their own values.
Yeah.
You know, have their own directions that are sustainable, that can create these kind of cool things. Before we wrap this up, I want to talk about these Hollywood fights. These Hollywood fights are going on. Like Francis Ngannou, I don't think he has won professional boxing match before, right?
I'm not sure, but
Like
if
on
he
his
has, then
record?
maybe he has like one or something. I really don't know. Maybe he has none. Yeah, I think that's kind of a joke that he's gonna fight Tyson Fury, isn't it? Like, I mean, he has no chance of winning that fight, man. It's all for the show, right? That's my opinion, you know. And it sounds kind of like, you know, harsh, but this is what I think, that it's certainly good for them for the money, right? They're gonna make shit tons of money, but Francis Ngannou has no chance of beating Tyson Fury in a boxing match, apart from maybe if he finds a lucky shot, right? But that anybody can fight, right? What do you think?
I was watching Francis Ngannou doing some kickboxing fights. I know he has some kickboxing background, right?
Yeah,
And then he had some solid punches, man.
no, for sure. But I mean, like if you think about it, that Fury beat Deontay Wilder like twice, who has basically hits as hard as Ngannou, or almost as hard, right? But technically, he's way more sound as a boxer, because that's what he's been doing like all his life. And Tyson Fury just knocked him out twice, right? So, and he couldn't knock out Tyson Fury. So I think that Francis has a chance for sure. But I mean, it's gonna be like just a puncher chance, basically. I don't know how you see it. Like, what are your thoughts about this?
Like Francis Ngannou, I don't know how big he is. Like I don't know his how tall and heavy he is, but he is a serious guy, you know. And
Yeah.
his background makes him even like a tougher category than Alex Pereira, right? So when it comes down to it, the approach that he will have to this fight is going to be serious stuff. I think he's looking for the money fight. That's always been the issue when talking about UFC, why he's kind of forced out of the UFC and not being able to take more fights, this free agent contract that he's having. So when it comes down to it, with him fighting Tyson Fury, there's generations in between of training boxing.
Yeah, I agree.
Tyson Fury, he was born premature. He was said he was not last tonight, and his father named him after Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And said this child will be a world champion boxing the same night that the doctor said he wouldn't make it through the night. And the legacy of Tyson Fury has certainly lived up to that. So for him to fight
very
Francis
impressive.
Ngannou,
Yeah.
it's a really bad matchup. There's not a good matchup, but it's like WWE. You just want to see crazy stuff happen, right?
You mean it's a bad matchup for Ngannou, or?
Well, in boxing wise,
Yeah,
boxing-wise,
I agree.
like the record of Tyson Fury compared to a guy who has 0 fights. That's what Tyson Fury said about. No, that was what Mike Tyson said about Conor McGregor when he fight Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, you know, that's the same thing. That's absolutely the same thing. So, and I think Mayweather, you know, he could have beaten him like more easily as well. You know, I think he's just.
Well, he had to be careful. He had to be a little bit careful because I think they fought like 10 rounds, Conor McGregor and
Yeah. I think it was 10 or 11 or something like that.
and he landed. He landed with some shots. he took the pressure, even though it was far from winning the fight.
Mm.
He went 10 rounds toe to toe with unarguably the best boxer of the age this time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Conor was like kind of impressive in that fight.
Mike Tyson said it.
Yeah,
People don't understand the performance that Conor McGregor did. That's coming from Mike Tyson.
yeah. But I remember because I wanted to make some bet on that fight. When like Mayweather still had like pretty high odds.
Yeah.
Given like
Yeah.
how much of a favorite he should have been, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if Tyson Fury will have this kind of odds, I'm gonna bet the house on fucking Tyson Fury.
You're gonna make some money, man.
Because I mean, I would be like extremely surprised if Ngannou pulls this off somehow, even though he's a fucking hard puncher. He punches as a fucking truck, right? But still,
when we talk about this, you know what image lives rent free in my head?
Yeah.
When he took out that Dutch fighter.
Who, Ngannou?
Yeah.
Overeem, right?
Alistair Overeem.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was crazy.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that Instagram guy doing Savage?
No.
Oh, he does the kind of a presentation, like it's an African guy talking about these fights and he explains how savage that fight was.
Yeah,
and it gives you chills, man. It gives you chills because he sends them to like the afterlife with that punch.
Yeah, I mean that uppercut was fucking crazy. I mean, it looked like that. Yeah, just knocked Overeem's head off, from his fucking neck. Like,
some people don't recover from a knockout like that.
Yeah,
but I think a generation of fighters from the Dutch country didn't recover from that fight. I think that knockout pushed people so far back, it scared a whole generation of fighters. That was so brutal, that punch. So to end the whole kind of podcast today, I think Ngannou against Tyson Fury is going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I will watch it for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be like kind of one-sided if Tyson Fury takes it seriously, because you never know what happens with Tyson Fury, right? I mean, he has also, his own issues and stuff, but I doubt that there would be a fight ever that he would not take seriously. I think he will take Ngannou seriously and, probably jab his face off and, eventually get like a TKO or something. That's how I think it's going to play out.
We know that Tyson Fury can take a punch.
Oh, for sure, man.
Like he shocked the whole world when he got up after he got knocked out against what's his name?
Wilder.
Wilder, yeah.
Yeah.
Like people couldn't believe where he found that energy to get up after that. So we know Tyson Fury can take a punch. We know he can give a punch, and I think that Ngannou, he's a serious guy that you gotta take seriously, especially in any kind of discipline, fight, organization or
I mean, of course, yeah. He catches you with with one good shot and it's lights out. So
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. I look forward to see how this guy things plays out and talk to you on the next one.
Yeah, it was great getting together, and doing this in a proper environment this time. So yeah, I'll catch you next time.